it's Miss Tara. I'm one of the large group kindergarten leaders at Real Life Claremont, and I'm here to read you all a bedtime story tonight. And we're going to read one that I used to hear when I was little. We're going to read The Ugly Duckling. So here goes. One beautiful spring morning, a mother duck sat on her nest. Under her, very warm and snug, lay 5 round eggs. The mother duck was very still as she sat waiting for her 5 eggs to hatch. At last, she gave a quack of joy and sprang off the nest. The eggs in the nest were moving around, and from inside them came the sounds of picking and scratching. The mother duck bent her head to watch. Then one eggshell after another cracked open. Out tumbled 1, 2, 3, 4 ducklings. As yellow as butter, as soft as down, with eyes as bright as black cherries. With soft little peeps, they climbed out of the nest and waddled into the tall grass. What a beautiful family, thought the mother as she looked at her 4 ducklings. But then she looked sadly back at the nest, then shook her head. For there lay the 5th and biggest egg, which had not yet hatched. It was a dull white egg, not at all like the others. But she sat down and waited. In a moment, a strong bill broke through the shell. Then a head appeared. But the duckling that stumbled out of the eggshell was not small and yellow and downy as its brothers had been. Instead, it was big, white, and clumsy. Honk, said the new duckling, eager to be liked by the mother duck. Goodness, said the mother duck in horror. This little duckling does not sound like a child of mine. Peep, said the other ducklings. He's funny looking, and we don't want to play with him. And they waddled after their mother down the path to the pond. The ugly duckling couldn't understand why no one would play with him or why they called him ugly. He wanted to be friends, so he followed the others down to the pond. There was the mother duck swimming in the clear water. On her back sat the 4 little ducklings having a lovely ride. Honk, called the ugly duckling, in his friendliest voice, hoping for a ride too. But Mother Duck just scolded at him and told him to go away. The poor ugly duckling sat alone on the bank of the pond. Why won't anybody play with me? He wondered sadly. Why do they call me ugly? And big tears filled his eyes and dropped into the water below him. He watched the rings as they made as they fell. Suddenly, he saw a strange and frightening sight. There, all blurred and twisted within the ripples, was his own reflection. Oh dear, cried the ugly duckling. I am indeed ugly. I will run and hide where no one will have to look at me. So he turned away from the sunny pond and started into the dark forest. How frightened and lonely he sat there in the deep forest. Silent shadows swayed gloomily beneath the trees as a chilly wind moved their branches to and fro. Suddenly, there was a rush of wings overhead, and into the woods flew a whole family of young pheasants. Oh, thought the ugly duckling, perhaps they will play with me. And he started towards them hesitantly, hoping that they would not scold him and leave him. But the birds in the bushes flew up as he approached and disappeared between the trees. It's because I'm so ugly, thought the ugly duckling, and he shut his eyes to keep back the tears. And so it went on the first day, and the second day, and for many days after that. Once as he swam alone through the rushes, he met a duck who smiled at him and bobbed pleasantly on the green water. At last, thought the ugly duckling, I have a friend, and he swam up to the new duck and spoke to him timidly. But the new duck only kept smiling and would not answer. The ugly duckling did not guess that his new friend was only a painted toy duck some children had set on the water and allowed to float away. It was lonely having no one to talk to but a toy duck. Was better than none, so the ugly duckling played with him. But one day, when the water on the pond was ruffled with waves that the wind made, the toy duck turned suddenly with the current and struck the ugly duck sharply on the bill with his painted bill. Weakly, the ugly duckling swam to shore and rested on the bank. He watched his smiling friend bob off across the water until he was out of sight. He suddenly understood that the little toy duck had no heart at all, and therefore could not love him. The pain in his head was great, but the pain in his heart was great still. The ugly duckling could no longer keep back his tears, and he cried and cried. Spring turned into summer, summer into fall, and after fall came the cold snows. The ugly duckling grew bigger and bigger. Then one day, when the trees around the pond were soft with new green leaves and the forest was alive with spring, something wonderful happened. The ugly duckling was swimming among the rushes at the edge of the pond when there flew over the water the most beautiful bird he had ever seen. After it came another and another. The ugly duckling hardly dared to breathe for fear these new creatures would see him and fly away. What can they be? He wondered, enchanted, as he watched them drop on the clear surface. Surely they are the kings of the birds, for they are the most beautiful creatures I have ever seen. Drawn by their grace, hardly realizing what he was doing, the ugly duckling swam nearer and nearer. Suddenly, one of the great birds raised its long neck and looked right at him. The ugly duckling quickly turned his head to hide, but he could not bear to have these beautiful creatures see how ugly he was. But the great swan, for that's what he was, cried to the others, "Here's a new one!" And all the other swans gathered around the ugly duckling, saying, "A new one, and the most beautiful of all of us." They bowed their heads before him. Glancing into the smooth water, the ugly duckling, or the king of the swans, as we must now call him, saw his own beautiful reflection. How he had changed. His neck had grown curved and graceful, his feathers sleek and white, and his head was marked with handsome black lines. Yes, he was beautiful indeed. As he floated across the water with his new friends, the mother duck said to her ducklings, "Who is that lovely bird? How beautiful he is!" The family of pheasants remarked, "How wonderful it would be to be so graceful and so strong." Even the little painted duck looked impressed as the swan sailed past. The ugly duckling was very happy now that he had friends, and he kindly forgave the ducks and the pheasants, and even the little painted duck for how they had treated him. And as for them, they had learned that you never know when you may meet a king in disguise. The end. I hope you enjoyed the story, kiddos, and I hope you all have a lovely night. Sweet dreams. Bye.